If Judaism came among white people, and for white people only, how is it possible that there are thousands of Ethiopian black Jews living in Ethiopia? Interestingly, their ancestors did not convert to Judaism, but were always Jews since its inception. But if that's the case, does it mean the ancient Jews were black? Even further, if the Beta Israel in Ethiopia are the real Jews, what about the Jews living in the country of Israel? Given that the Beta Israel have been living for over 1,000 years, to understand their origin and ancestry, an analysis of history has to be done. So, who are the Beta Israel of Ethiopia, and who are their ancestors? In this video, let's find out. The Beta Israel traditionally lived in northern and northwestern Ethiopia, regions now part of modern-day Amhara and Tigray provinces. Their communities were concentrated in areas such as the North Gondar Zone and Shire, where they established over 500 villages across vast and rugged landscapes. This spread-out settlement allowed them to create tight-knit communities, united by shared religious practices and a strong sense of cultural identity. Despite being surrounded by predominantly Christian and Muslim populations, Beta Israel maintained their distinct Jewish traditions, promoting strength and self-sufficiency through their way of life, which centered on agriculture, craftsmanship, and devotion to their faith. However, their geographic and cultural isolation, while crucial for preserving their traditions, also reinforced their marginalization and limited integration with surrounding societies. The Beta Israel practice a form of Judaism known as Haymanot, which is characterized by a strict observance of the Torah and a deliberate exclusion of Talmudic traditions. This unique approach to Judaism developed independently in Ethiopia, bearing similarities to Karaite Judaism, which also prioritizes the written Torah over oral traditions. Their commitment to Haymanot reflects a deep adherence to Mosaic laws, including dietary restrictions, circumcision on the 8th day after birth, and strict Sabbath observance. These practices shaped a distinct religious identity influenced by their Ethiopian environment and centuries of separation from mainstream Jewish communities. Furthermore, worship for Beta Israel is centered around synagogues, locally known as masjid, which serve as spiritual hubs for the community. These sacred spaces are where the Torah is read, and prayers are recited, often orally, highlighting their reliance on oral traditions rather than written rabbinic texts. This oral transmission of religious teachings has been a cornerstone of their faith, ensuring its continuity across generations and preserving their unique practices. The Kesem, the spiritual leaders of the Beta Israel, play a pivotal role in the community. Acting as custodians of their faith, the Kesem interpret the Torah, oversee life cycle events such as weddings, funerals, and purification rituals, and mediate disputes. Their leadership has been instrumental in maintaining adherence to Mosaic laws and safeguarding the community's identity, even during periods of isolation from other Jewish traditions. Isolation in Ethiopia acted as both a protector and a barrier for Beta Israel. It shielded their traditions from external influences, allowing them to preserve an ancient form of Judaism rooted in Mosaic laws. However, this same isolation marginalized them, leaving them as a minority often regarded with suspicion by their Christian and Muslim neighbors. This dual legacy has shaped Beta Israel into a resilient community whose traditions and history are a vital part of the broader Jewish history, highlighting their enduring contribution to global Jewish heritage. But what about their origin and ancestry? Well, the story of the ancestry of the Ethiopian Jews is linked to biblical stories and significant moments in Jewish history. Central to their lineage is the claim of descent from the tribe of Dan, one of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. However, even before that, the Ethiopian Jews' history is linked with the biblical Exodus. During Moses' leadership, some accounts suggest that a group, possibly from the tribe of Dan, diverged from the main body of Israelites. This group is believed to have journeyed southward, bypassing Sinai's traditional route, eventually reaching Africa and settling in Ethiopia's highlands. This account connects Beta Israel to the foundational story of Jewish identity. Their migration is seen as an early commitment to the Mosaic commandments, highlighting their adherence to ancient laws. By tracing their presence in Ethiopia back to this era, Beta Israel asserts that their Jewish identity predates even the establishment of the Kingdom of Israel, underscoring their claim as custodians of an ancient and unaltered tradition. Centuries after the Exodus, another key event in Jewish history, which was the division of the United Monarchy, serves as a possible origin for Beta Israel. Following King Solomon's death, the Kingdom of Israel fractured into two separate states: the Northern Kingdom of Israel and the Southern Kingdom of Judah. The resulting political instability and conflict prompted migrations, including a group of Danites who, according to Beta Israel's oral history, fled southward in search of safety and stability. This group is said to have traveled through Egypt, using established trade routes to reach further into Africa. Upon reaching Ethiopia, they established communities that predated the arrival of Christianity and Islam. Their decision to flee the turmoil of Israel and settle in Ethiopia reflected their determination to preserve their traditions. Living far from rabbinic centers allowed them to maintain a form of Judaism rooted in Mosaic law, unaltered by later developments in Jewish practice. A third significant historical moment tied to Beta Israel's ancestry is the Babylonian exile. In 586 BCE, the Babylonian Empire, under King Nebuchadnezzar II, destroyed the first temple in Jerusalem and forced many Jews into exile. While some exiles remained in Babylon or dispersed throughout the Middle East, others are believed to have traveled southward, passing through Egypt and modern-day Sudan before settling in Ethiopia. This migration aligns with patterns of Jewish dispersion during periods of persecution. Complementing these migration narratives is Ethiopia's national epic, the Kebra Nagast, which ties Beta Israel's history to the biblical story of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. According to the legend, the Queen of Sheba, known as Makeda in Ethiopian tradition, visited King Solomon in Jerusalem. Their union resulted in the birth of Menelik I, who, as an adult, journeyed to meet his father in Jerusalem. When Menelik returned to Ethiopia, he was accompanied by a group of Israelites and brought with him the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred chest containing the 10 Commandments. These Israelites are often associated with Beta Israel, credited with establishing Jewish practices in Ethiopia. This legend situates Beta Israel within a royal lineage and emphasizes their deep connection to ancient Israel, blending biblical history with Ethiopian national identity. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black Africa. Let's continue now. Furthermore, there are also records of little-known migrations linked with Beta Israel. One of the earliest migrations linked to Beta Israel occurred after Cleopatra's defeat by Augustus Caesar in 31 BCE. With the Roman Empire asserting control over Egypt, Jewish communities in the region faced heightened persecution and social unrest. Many Jewish families sought refuge in safer lands to the south, guided by well-established trade networks and desert traders familiar with the routes through Nubia and Ethiopia. These migrations likely followed the Nile River, a vital artery for travel and trade, enabling settlers to reach regions near the Ethiopian border, such as Kwara and Eritrea. Over time, they moved deeper into Ethiopia, establishing communities that would form the foundation of the Beta Israel. This migration infused the group with traditions reflective of the broader Jewish diaspora of the time, helping them preserve their identity despite the challenges of exile. Another significant migration took place during the reign of King Caleb of Axum in the 6th century CE. Caleb, a Christian king, launched a military campaign in Yemen to confront the Himyarite king, who was reportedly persecuting Christians. Following his successful campaign, Caleb's forces returned to Ethiopia with various groups, including Jewish communities. Some of these Jewish migrants were integrated into existing Beta Israel populations, further enriching their cultural and religious practices. This migration showed Ethiopia's role as a historical crossroads for people and ideas between Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. It also brought Middle Eastern influences into Beta Israel traditions, reinforcing their ties to Jewish practices rooted in the Torah, while contributing to the unique evolution of their identity. Furthermore, oral traditions of the Beta Israel recount additional migrations from the Arabian Peninsula to Ethiopia through well-established trade networks. These routes, which connected the Red Sea coasts of present-day Yemen and Saudi Arabia to Ethiopia, were extensively used by merchants, travelers, and migrants. Jewish traders and families seeking refuge or new opportunities likely took advantage of these pathways to settle in Ethiopia. These migrations not only increased the Beta Israel population, but also introduced fresh cultural and religious practices. By maintaining contact with Jewish communities in the Middle East, these migrants helped Beta Israel preserve elements of Jewish tradition while adapting to their Ethiopian context. Later, a 9th century traveler, Eldad Hadani, provided one of the earliest written accounts linking the Beta Israel to a broader Jewish tradition. Eldad claimed to belong to a Jewish kingdom of Danites in East Africa, a community he described as having fled civil war in ancient Israel to settle south of Egypt. His accounts detailed their customs, laws, and pastoral lifestyle, offering a rare glimpse into the possible origins of the Beta Israel. While Eldad's testimony was initially met with skepticism, many rabbis eventually recognized its consistency with ancient Jewish practices. His writings reinforced the notion of Beta Israel as an isolated yet authentic continuation of Jewish tradition. Eldad's descriptions also aligned with Beta Israel's oral histories of descent from the tribe of Dan, strengthening their claim of ancient Israelite lineage. Furthermore, Beta Israel traditions speak of ancient Jewish kingdoms in Ethiopia that were once prosperous and influential. These kingdoms, described as thriving with wealth, cities, and agricultural success, are said to have provided a strong foundation for Beta Israel communities. However, the rise of Christianity in the 4th century and later Islam diminished their influence. Over time, many Beta Israel retreated to remote highland areas to preserve their traditions, becoming increasingly isolated. Then comes the Zagwe dynasty, which lasted from the 10th to 13th century CE, which further connects Beta Israel to Ethiopian history. The rulers of this dynasty, known for constructing the iconic rock-hewn churches of Lalibela, claimed descent from Israelite lineage. This claim aligns with Beta Israel traditions emphasizing their Jewish heritage, though the exact relationship between the dynasty and the Beta Israel remains debated. Some scholars suggest the Zagwe rulers were more closely tied to Ethiopian Christianity, while others see evidence of shared Israelite ancestry, reflecting the complexity of religious and cultural identities in the region. However, the relation between Ethiopian Jews and ancient Hebrew Israelites can be precisely found through genetics. Modern genetic research has uncovered intriguing details about the ancestry of the Beta Israel, shedding light on their unique identity. These findings support their oral traditions, while also highlighting the significant role of cultural exchange and intermarriage in shaping their community over centuries. Approximately 20% of the Beta Israel's DNA is linked to Semitic populations, including ancient Israelites, Arabs, and Canaanites. This genetic connection aligns closely with their claims of descent from the tribe of Dan, one of the 10 lost tribes of Israel. The Semitic markers in their DNA lend credibility to their migration stories, which describe groups of Jews traveling from the Middle East into Ethiopia during pivotal moments in Jewish history. This component of their ancestry establishes a clear link to the broader Middle Eastern gene pool, reinforcing their claims of ancient Jewish origins. The majority of the Beta Israel's genetic makeup, however, reflects East African ancestry, showcasing their integration with local Ethiopian populations over centuries. This East African heritage situates them firmly within the cultural and geographic context of Ethiopia, illustrating how their Jewish identity adapted to their surroundings while maintaining its core traditions. Their unique combination of Semitic and East African ancestry highlights how they preserve their faith and practices while engaging with the local population. The genetic analysis tells the same story, that the Beta Israel originated from a small group of Jewish migrants who arrived in Ethiopia approximately 2,000 years ago. Over time, these settlers blended with local communities, creating a distinct Ethiopian Jewish identity. This blending, with centuries of geographic and cultural isolation, led to their genetic divergence from other Jewish populations. However, the history of the Ethiopian Jews has never been easy. From the Exodus to escaping the Kingdom of Israel to now, Ethiopian Jews have been always on the run, particularly during the 19th and 20th centuries. Ethiopia's Christian rulers often viewed the Beta Israel as outsiders, targeting them because of their distinct religious practices. Forced conversions to Christianity became a tool for suppressing their Jewish identity, giving rise to the group known as the Falash Mura. The Falash Mura are Beta Israel members who were coerced into converting to Christianity during these periods of persecution. Despite outwardly adopting a new faith, many secretly retained elements of their Jewish heritage, such as dietary laws and the celebration of Jewish holidays. Over time, some Falash Mura sought to return to their Jewish roots, sparking debates within Israel and the global Jewish community about their status under Jewish law. Modern efforts have focused on integrating the Falash Mura into mainstream Jewish communities, often through formal conversion programs designed to help them reconnect with their ancestral faith. The late 20th century marked a turning point for the Beta Israel as they reconnected with the global Jewish community and undertook dramatic migrations to Israel. These efforts were catalyzed by rulings from prominent rabbis, including Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, who recognized the Beta Israel as Jews and eligible for Aliyah under Israel's law of return. This recognition set the stage for large-scale immigration operations that brought thousands of Ethiopian Jews to Israel. The first significant effort, Operation Moses in 1984, involved the covert airlift of thousands of Beta Israel refugees from Sudan, where they had fled due to famine and political instability. Over 6 weeks, approximately 8,000 Ethiopian Jews were transported to Israel, despite logistical and political challenges. In 1991, Operation Solomon became one of the most dramatic migration missions in history. For 36 hours, more than 14,000 Ethiopian Jews were airlifted to Israel, using a fleet of planes modified to carry as many passengers as possible. This operation not only demonstrated Israel's commitment to rescuing Beta Israel, but also symbolized the unity and solidarity of the Jewish people. What do you think? Are the Ethiopian Jews, the Beta Israel, descendants of one of the lost tribes of Israel? Or do you think the Beta Israel were local Africans who converted to Judaism quite later than 1,000 years ago? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on whether Beta Israel can be considered the oldest Jews having unchanged principles and codes. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring videos on Black Africa, its history, rich arts and culture, and things the world should know about. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.